When you're still finding new things. Guys, I gotta be real with you guys. You know that feeling when you uh, yeah, when you find that new whatever, right? Like let's say when you find that new song or when you find that new movie or TV show, right? When you find that new book or when you find that new story or that new concept or that new way of doing things, right? Like I think one of the reasons why we like social media or like certain videos so much is because like they kind of break it down or they give you like a new perspective on things, you know what I'm saying? They always go like this is how you should do something, and then they show you the video of like a life hack, right? Like those kind of videos, they always stand out to us because we learn from it, right? We really are more educated than we, obviously we're stupid too, I'm not denying that, you know what I mean? But what I'm trying to get at here is that like we're still learning, we're still finding new things, new ways to be better. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I feel like this is because the other day I was watching a TV show and I was binge watching it. And oh my, I'm not gonna say the name of it right now. Maybe I'll talk about it in the future sometime. I want to take some more time to like go back and rewatch some scenes of it. But I remember I was watching it and I was so invested in it. I got to be honest. I was really into the show, and for the life of me, the feeling like it was like ah man, it was one of those great feelings where like you just become in the story. Like you're like, oh my gosh, why did you know what I mean? Like you just everything about it is so cool. And this was a couple of years ago that this show came out, and I was like, I must have. I don't know, I was like, why was nobody talking about this? Or like, I must have missed it, you know what I mean? I wasn't on the train, you know what I mean? I missed out. So you know, I just want to say is like sometimes that openness. Sometimes the cool thing about life is that there's so much out there to be like found and discovered and are taking place, right? Like everything is you got to look at the world with an open mind, and it really just like the whole reason why I was watching this TV show or whatever was because I was kind of like I was curious about something. I was curious about the people who were in the people who were in the show, and I was kind of like, I don't know, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. I haven't really seen it. Do I really want to see it? You know what I mean? I was kind of like, and then the kind of genre it was, I was like, I don't know if I'm in the mood for it and whatnot. But eventually, I was like, all right, well, I'm kind of, you know how like you're going watching the same old stuff, you know what I mean? Kind of bouncing back and forth. So I was like, might as well like try, something new. And within the first episode, it pulled me in, and I was like, okay, let's see what happens next, and then next, and then next, and then you end up binge watching the whole thing. And I thought it was so it was like the perfect amount of like it just had such a great balance to it. The whole thing of it, no reveal. I don't feel like talking about it in length here, but my point being is that like when I found it and it was like so new and it was so fresh to me and it was like really really good, and I thought that oftentimes when in this world of like sequels or second, they come out with like another sequel after another sequel, or they remake something of an old IP or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like they keep on doing things that have already been done before, and I'm getting, obviously I'm tired of it, and a lot of other people are tired of it. Like, you want something new, you want something fresh, you want something just as big as the biggest franchises in the world. You know what I mean? It's like you want another. You know what I mean? You want something completely different, but also fresh and exciting and new and cool, right? Even though everything that we're doing in this life has kind of been on a repeat, you know what I mean? It's you could go back and back and back and just look at like, oh, this is just a repeat of that, or and this is another cycle of another person like this and that, and it's gotten to that point where we're able to analytically take a look at people and things going on in the media and try to understand that, like, no, we've been through this cycle before. And, it's all coming around again. And it's that, they remind me of this person, or this person reminds me of them. But, in a kind of a new and different way. But my point being is that there's still new things out there to find. There's still more to explore, to discover. There's so much out there that's so cool. You know what I mean? And I just felt like sometimes you can get a little like stubborn or stuck in your ways. Like you don't want to open up to a lot of new things because maybe they don't turn out as good, or it's like, I don't really need that. I'm comfortable with what I have. And there's nothing wrong with being comfortable and appreciating what you have, right? And it's like, and it's like, I don't have to go find a new, like, let's say, I don't have to go find a new, like a new recipe for a certain food. I don't know what it is. Like, let's say I already have a recipe for, I don't know, whatever, like pasta or whatever, or mac and cheese, okay? I already have, the perfect setup. I already know what I'm doing, and I know how to make it perfectly and what kind of thing all of it, right? You already know. So it's like, I don't need a new recipe. I got mine. But then maybe you open up to the idea, or you kind of say to yourself like, actually, you know what? Let me change it up a little bit. Let me make it spicy macaroni and cheese. Let me make it with this kind of cheese instead, or let me add this cheese to it, or let me substitute that for this or this for that. And you just try to mix it all together and try to make something new. You know what I mean? And then it turns out even better than you expected. I don't know. I think when you're still finding when you're still finding new things out there, it can kind of open your possibilities a lot wider, a lot more than being stuck in one thing. You know what I'm saying? I think I often am like, I don't want to say closed off, but more times than not, I think that I pull away from certain things because I'm just like, I didn't really, it's because it feels like they're just going to redo what's already been done, that you're kind of like skeptical, or you don't want to be a part of it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what can I compare it to? Like a laptop, right? Like, or like Apple products. It's like, they're going to come out with a new iPhone every single year. They're going to come out with a new whatever, right? But it's not going to be, it's not going to be totally different, right? It's just going to be the same old thing. They're going to make it, they're going to, twist it or say that it's better than the last one. But then it's like, the change is so minuscule, right? Like the improvement is very tiny. It's not a gigantic growth or improved by a ton. It's more so like hey, it's improved, and it's not that different from last year's, but it's still got a great screen, it's still got lights, it's still got all kinds of, and you're just like, and you start asking yourself, is it worth it? Was the upgrade like 100% necessary? Is it, is that upgrade necessary? Is it worth it? You know what I'm saying? So it's technically a new thing, but you're just like, I'm not really getting that much for it. I'm just going to keep the phone that I have now. I don't need to upgrade, right? And that's how I feel sometimes. I just feel like the upgrade isn't, we're not in a, like going from a, let's say the Macintosh, right? Like the first, or whatever, or the Apple II, or whatever the first like Apple computer was. And then I show you the iPod. You're like, oh wow, that's a drastic change. That's two different products. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe it'd be better to say like the MacBook Pro, right? It's like, oh my gosh, that's such a huge difference in between these two things. Wow, that's such a great improvement, Like that's a big jump in improvement. And we're not having those big jumps anymore. So sometimes I get stuck, or sometimes I'm just kind of like, they're just going to redo what's already been done. I have no interest in it, or I don't want to take interest into it because it's just like, it's not going to be like, it's going to be, what's the right word? I'm desensitized to it, right? I've become numb to that story, or to that product, or to that whatever, right? Because I've had it so many times, and you start to lose, the sheer joy of it, right? Whereas, like with pizza, okay, let's just say pizza for instance, right? Because I know that's something that a lot of people like. Like when you had pizza for the first time, or when you were a kid and you were like, man, this pizza's the best pizza in the world and I love pizza, and you have like such a bursting emotion for it, and then cut to, years later, and you're just like, it's just pizza, you know what I mean? Or it's like, I'm sick of pizza, or, I've had all the pizza in the world and it's not, you know what I mean? But then every now and again, you get that love for it back, you know what I mean? You go through that cycle of like, it's pizza, I don't want pizza, I've had pizza, and it's this or that. It's just like you kind of grow tired of it. The flavor doesn't hit the same anymore, right? But you take some time away from it. You don't, it isn't a part of your diet anymore, right? And then every now and then you're just like, oh hey, let me go grab a slice of pizza, and let me get a pizza for the fam, you know what I'm saying? And you have a piece of it, and you're just like, man, this is really good, right? Because you backed away from it. So I think what I'm trying to get at here is that, like, sometimes, right, it's not always about finding new. It's about just appreciating that it's there, right? Appreciating that it's a part of it. But for this particular instance, I thought that this, the TV show that I watched, or whatever, the show that I binged watched, it was not, it felt so new to me. It was obviously the story and the themes and the kind of things that they touch upon aren't particularly new to life at all, or for like TV shows or movies, right? They deal with certain themes that are universal, that people experience, people that have written books about them, that have written stories, that have written, all of their deepest, darkest desires, and that people have studied and analyzed and learned from other people, right? Over generations and, hundreds of years of of human psychology and studying one another just to learn our innermost desires and what it is that makes us tick and makes us form relationships and fall in love and stuff like that. None of those themes or none of those things that they talked about in the show were brand new to me, but it was the characters, the situation, the dialogue, the way that they frame it, or the way that they, they deal with each other. That was what was new. And it's because of that it felt so honest and fresh in my mind, and it caused me to really appreciate it, because I was like, man, I don't want this, this show to end, because it's so great. It's so amazing. I really was just like, I could watch this so many times, you know what I mean? I could keep on going with this show. It should never, you know what I mean? I don't want it to go away. And by the time it ended, I had a very big appreciation for it. I was like, wow, this was so new and artistic, and they told the story so beautifully, and it was so raw and so real, and it just like, it hit hard in the feels, and you're just like, man, that was so beautiful, you know what I mean? But it was also very painful, and it just like, all of it together, you know what I mean? And that, to me, that feeling, that excitement, that was like, that's because it was new. That's because it was genuinely good. You know what I'm saying? So I was still, and then in that, I was like, there's so many more, shows like this out there maybe, or, maybe there's other things out there. And then obviously with other shows that I've talked about, with like, what is it? Like, they come out with like Shogun, like they did Shogun this year. Was Shogun this year? I think Shogun was this year. But shows like Shogun, like that was new and exciting, and it was like I could connect with the characters, and I really enjoyed it, and I was like, man, this is some good, you know what I mean? It was one of those new things, and the fact that there still can be new things to come, you know what I mean? That's what's so exciting about tomorrow. That's what's so interesting about, as life goes on, you're going to find one of the beautiful things is that, like, having something to, having something to wait for, having something to hold on to or to expect in the future, right? That kind of gives us a little bit of hope, something to keep reaching out for, you know what I mean? It's not as exciting when you know everything, It's not as much fun when you have all of it in your mind or have all of the answers, you know what I mean? There's always that new thing that you can always go out there and find, and you can grab, and you can kind of learn about, There's always another hobby or another song or another this, another that, right? There's always more, As much as I like with like celebrity or pop culture stuff, like you think it's like, oh, they're just doing the same thing over and over and over again, right? It's like they just don't stop. They always do the same old taglines, and they always mention the same celebrities with this celebrity, and they talk about exes and breaking up and this and that, right? Like it's an endless cycle of it, It's like, oh, we know that they're going to do this. We know that they're going to talk about it, that we know that they're going to say these things, and yet we still feed into it. We still get into it, right? Except now it's like, oh, it's a new celebrity. Oh, I'm invested in the gossip. I'm invested in this. This is crazy. This is funny. This is weird. This is, you know what I mean? It's like, it becomes a part of the pop culture discussion, or the celebrity fad, or whatever, you know what I mean? The thing that brings everybody into talking about people in the public eye or whatever, right? And you can kind of think to yourself, and earlier I said fad, I hope the enunciation wasn't that. Um, but my point being is that like they always come out with like new stuff to like gossip or talk about or all this other things, you know what I mean? And it's just like you would think we would be bored of it, but they keep on finding a new way to make it seem brand new, but it's actually just the same thing over and over again. But that's, again, I'm going in circles. I'm just saying it's like that's life, and you can always find something new to hold on to grab and to take in and hold into place and say to yourself like, I really like this, and I think it's cool that I found something new and unique and something that I like and it's something that, you know, something that I respond to, and I'm glad that I found this new thing and that I'm obsessed with it, and it's like all that I like having in my life, you know what I mean? Like imagine the people who like when a king finds his throne, right? He's like, I didn't know. He was probably like, I didn't know I needed a big throne or I liked, this big cushion, right? But he was like, I found it, I want it, people get it for me or whatever. Like I think I'm making the wrong comparison. How about like a nice car, a nice new car, right? It's like, oh man, I really like the design of this car. I want it in this color. I really like the features on it. I think it's like perfect mix of like, for a family car, but it's also like luxurious. I really like it. I want to get it. This is the kind of car for me. Da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like there's always something new out there. And finding it, when you find it, it's really fun and it's exciting and it gives you that breath of like, you know what I mean? You take that deep breath in and you just kind of say to yourself like, okay, I'm in. Let's see what it's about. Let's figure out what's going on here. I enjoy that a lot. I think it's really cool, and it's one of the things that I'm appreciative of now, where I know that as I continue to live and as long as I continue to try to explore, try to find new things, I'm always going to become better because I am trying to find new things. I'm trying to make something a part of who I am and also hold and keep the things that I've already found and believe and want to keep as a part of me. You know what I mean? I don't know. It felt really good to find something that's like so new to you. Something that just like opens you up. Something that just like completely shocks you out of your cycle, out of your routine, and it just gives you that burst of energy to like figure yourself out and say like, I like this thing, let me think what else was. I mean, even the certain things in my life now that I've like grown up with and that I've had in my life, I imagine that there are certain things that I might have or like somebody else might have that I'm like, wow, that's so cool, and they might say the same thing about me. It's like new things, you know what I'm saying? We can pass it on to each other. We can show it off and we can kind of be ourselves, and other people will like, oh, that's so cool. You know what I mean? Like I like that too, or, we can connect with people. But anyways, when you're still finding new things, it's exciting. And I honestly think that if if things keep on repeating like I know that they are, if things kind of just like stay stale or like nothing changes all that much or changes so minimally, but we're still able to have or able to see like how much we have changed or how much things are different, then I think we'll all be okay, as long as we keep on trying to be better. That's the thing, is that this show wouldn't be as good if it wasn't now. Does that make sense? And because of that show coming out, it raises the caliber of like, I imagine the people who worked on the show, they want to make another great show like that. The writers, the people who made the dialogue are like, I want to make another show like that, or I want to do something new that's also tests my writing skills, my storytelling ability, and the director and the actors and the set designers and the lighting and the sound and the audio engineers, like all of it, like they all want to improve and they all like take it all in and they kind of learn from it and they go like, you know what? I like this work. It was brand new to me. I learned how to do this and I thought this was really cool that the director asked me to do, or, I like this new story. You know what I'm saying? Like all of that put towards it, So I thought that was really, really cool. I enjoy that aspect of it. I enjoy that the new things that happen, they really do become like so precious, or they become really eye-opening, and they give you that burst of energy to like, all right, let's try another new thing. You know what I'm saying? I think once we go try something outside of our comfort zone, maybe, and it turns out like we're actually really good at it, or maybe maybe it was a positive experience doing so, then we're more than likely to try it again and more than likely to go for it again. You know what I'm saying? And then when we fail or when it's a negative experience, we crawl into our shell and we kind of like, I'm afraid to go out because I've tried it before and it sucked and I don't really want to, I'm cool where I am. You know what I mean? I like building my home more than going out there and, expanding my space. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's the good thing about balance, is that like you have this amazing place to call home, and then you can go out and you can go like, I'm going to go out and, make something new, right? I'm not going to wait for that new thing to get me, right? Or wait for myself to find that new thing. I'm going to go out and maybe I'll make it, maybe I'll make the new thing that gets everybody talking, that gets everybody invested and happy and excited. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, I'm trying to think of the newest thing. When it comes to technology, there's always going to be something new, right? Like, if you can imagine it, I imagine it's possible, if certain TV shows or movies, like they show off like fantastic technological advancements, and it's like, if the movies and the TV shows can think of it, so can the greatest, technology companies out there. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely possible. It's definitely, out there. It's just a matter of waiting till tomorrow or the next day or, in the future, when everything becomes so advanced that we're able to make the next piece of technology that's amazing and fantastic and can change the world for us. You know what I mean? So when you're still finding new things, appreciate it, you know? Feel that excitement. Really enjoy that moment, because I'm not going to say that's the only time you'll feel it ever again, you know what I mean? Obviously there's going to be new things every single time. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that when you're finding new things, it's just a matter of like, oh, that's so cool. Let me, you know, absorb it, take it in, appreciate it, love it, and just recognize that you're excited, recognize and appreciate that feeling, because I think more often than not we forget about those moments, or we don't hold on to them as much, and then sometimes we're just like, oh man, I remember that feeling, and it felt so cool, it felt so good. And you know, we kind of let go of the positive feelings more than we do the negative feelings, right? We hold on to negative feelings. We hold on to so much of the bad things that we don't value or appreciate the good things that come around every so often. You know, that come around and genuinely spark something in us that makes us our imagination, and inspires us and makes us want to be better. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about. And, you know, I hope you guys find that new thing tomorrow or today or, you know, whenever. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys on next time. Thank you.